right? Right? So the two methods is basically that is first method is the simple ranking method. In that method you have to perform the ranking between the job. Like in a school we did number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Then we have the job classification method, job classification or job grading method, where you have to based on the wages you have to decide about that which job is important. So class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. Then we have the point ranking method and the factor comparison method, right? Point ranking we have the certain factor, and factor comparison method also we have the certain factor. So these are the four methods which we normally use in the job evaluation. So here the question is, which primarily used to compare the similarity between the jobs within an organization or between the organization or even in the industry. So the right answer is job evaluation. What is a job description and what is the meaning of job specification? See, JD is all about, that is more related to the, okay, right? So that is related to the, okay, that is related to the JD is related to the roles and responsibility which you normally perform in the job. And what is a JS? Job specification are normally required, that is a human qualities which is required to perform the job. So JD and JS both are the part of the job analysis. Now what is a job enrichment? The job enrichment is all about the vertical loading of the job. Vertical loading means you are getting the more and more job, but again you will be getting the skill variety, you will be getting the autonomy, you will be getting the feedback. Okay, so that is a vertical loading of job. Enrichment, job enlargement is the horizontal loading and job enrichment is the vertical loading of the job. Okay, so that is the right answer here is, that is E. Okay, right answer is E, that is right. So that is the right answer there, that is the A is the right answer. Now, right, now we have the second question is, that is information age. This question actually was asked last year. What is this question is all about? See, this question is the information age refer to, option is the era of development of computer system, the era of automated business operation, the era of development of software system, the era of use of information for decision making. So which one is the right answer? Tell me which one is the right answer? Right. So what is the right answer? See, option A is the era of development of computer system. B is the era of automated business operation. C is the era of development of software system, and the last one is the era of the use of information for decision making. Here the answer is D. Okay, the answer is what? That is the D. D option is the right answer, right? See, this question was normally it is, this question belongs to the chapter number 16, that is HRM and IT. Okay, so last year in June exam there was approx 4 to 5 question from the HRM and IT chapter, right? So this question was asked related to the information age. Information age is when you are doing any decision making, how that information technology will help you out, right? So the answer here is that is D, the era of use of information for decision making. Next is work life balance is not achieved by many due to, right? Option A is added workload, option B is lack of support from junior, C is family problem, and D is lack of emotional maturity. Which one is the right answer? Tell me. Right? Here we are talking about the work-life balance. So normally these type of behavioral question, right, are very important according to an exam point of view. When we are talking about the HR elective also, there was normally case studies that they can ask from the generally like maybe from your uh, related to workplace behavior. Okay, so that is related to your workplace behavior, right? Now what is this question is all about? The question is that is related to that work life balance is not achieved by many due to added workload, lack of support from junior, family problem, or lack of emotional maturity. The right answer here is that is D, lack of emotional maturity, because you are not able to maintain the work life balance. Okay, and that time we feel stress, right? Because we are not able to perform, okay, and we are not actually, right, we are not able to justify the work life balance, that how we can manage, right? So the answer here is what? That is D. Next is rational economic view, right? Rational economic view, the option one is equity theory, scientific management, human relation model, and need hierarchy theory. Last year in June exam again, that was the question they have asked. What is this question is about? Right? See, when we are talking about, right, when we are talking about the that is rational economic view. See, rational economic view, that is given by the, right, this rational economic view, that is given by what? That is given by the F.W. Taylor. We called it as a scientific management also, and we called it as a rebel hypothesis also. So what is a rebel hypothesis and what is the meaning of the scientific management view? Rational economic view, that is scientific management. What is this meaning is about? This is about scientific management view or rational economic view that is related to the, right, suppose there is a any person is there, okay, and that person is actually, okay, that person is actually motivated by only because of money, okay. Money is the only need of employee. According to F.W. Taylor, he has given the concept of scientific management. So he has given the concept that according to F.W. Taylor, that every person is having the one need, that is right, that is a money, right? So every person is having this need, that is money, and they can motivated by money. So the option A is equity theory, option B is scientific management, C is human relation, and D is need hierarchy theory. So which one is the right answer? The right answer here is scientific management. We called it as a rebel hypothesis also. We called it as a scientific management also. Right? Right? So here we are talking about next question, that is fifth one, which is defined as the organized, this para I have taken from your book. Organize learning experience in a definite time period to increase the possibility of improving the job performance group. Is it HRP? Is it HRM? Is it strategic management or the HRD? This para I have taken from the book only. So what is the right answer? See, when we are talking about HRD, okay, right answer is HRD. When we are talking about the HRD, that means we are talking about the how we can improve our knowledge, how we can improve our capabilities, how we can improve our capabilities, skills, knowledge for the current job and for the future role as well. So here we are talking about the HRD. Okay, HRD we are talking about. Now, who is the author of book? See, last year actually IIBF, they are asked even the who has coined the term, who was the author of the book. Okay, these type of question they have asked, right? So there is a question that who has given this book? The book name is, that is the landmark of tomorrow. Option 1 is Peter F. Drucker, F.W. Taylor, Seema Sanghvi and Kuntz. What is the right answer? Tell me what is the right answer? ठीक है, the author name is, that is Peter F. Drucker. ठीक है, Peter F. Drucker, he's the author of the book, that is the landmarks of tomorrow. So A is the right answer. Next is, a salesman in the shop showed a suit piece and told the customer that the cloth is very good but costly. It present which type of transaction? This question is from the transactional analysis. So what is this question is about? Right? So here we are talking about the, right, a salesman in a shop, he showed a suit piece. There are normally in your book there are two transactions, complementary and cross. Complementary is what? That means a reply which you want to listen, normal reply. Cross is like a cross transaction. Normally it can hinder your communication also. Ulterior means that is the right that hidden meaning will be there. Okay, and the angular one, right? Angular means he want to try to say something. Ulterior means you interpreted something else. Okay, angular is basically that hidden message. So here actually the salesperson, he's just showing the suit piece and told the customer that clothes is very good but costly. So actually he has the hidden meaning in that. Okay, what type of transaction is this? In the, that is a angular transaction. Okay, we called it as an angular transaction. Now transaction analysis is a study of behavioral aspect interpersonal relationship in the three ego state. Is it id ego, superego, conscious, subconscious, unconscious, awake, dream and sleep, and parent, child and adult? Which one is the right answer? Transactional analysis, it includes what? Right, which one is the right answer? So here the question is what? The question is the transactional analysis is a study of behavioral aspect interpersonal relationship in the three ego state, right? Is it id, ego, superego? Is it conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious? Is it awake, dream, and sleep, parent, child, and adult? See, transactional analysis is given by the Eric Berne. Okay, that is actually where we are talking about the communication transaction. Communication means there is a transaction is happening, okay, between the two person, and here we are talking about the transaction of communication. So the answer here is parent, child, ego. There are three stage normally every person is having, and sometime we behave like a parent, sometime we behave like a child, sometime we behave like a adult. So D is the right answer. Next is the primary purpose of training is that learning related to present job, learning to prepare for different but identify job, then learning for growth of the individual and motivating employee for better performance. So answer is A here. Okay, so all the viewers, right, first of all please subscribe our channel, and if you are watching us live then please subscribe and share this, right? And apart from that,
Scholar series for APM, and here we are covering all the important theory, numericals, objective questions, case studies. So follow the series till the end. Okay, let's start. What will be the schedule of the session? So we'll be talking of types of probability, that is the theory part, and then we'll be talking of probability numericals. Okay, so let's start. First, types of probabilities. Everyone, before that, how many of you have heard about these probability distributions? Type in the comment section yes. Have you studied this? Okay, firstly let me ask you a simple one. Have you studied this Bernoulli distribution? Or have you studied this probability distribution as such? Type in the comment section. Have you studied the probability distribution up till now? It's an important topic, okay? Yeah. Roughly around 8 to 10 marks. 8 marks roughly you consider it. Probability distribution. 8 marks. Okay. And in this probability distribution, you have three types of probabilities. One is Bernoulli, second is binomial, and third one is Poisson. Okay. So we'll study one by one now. Bernoulli distribution is a discrete probability distribution where Bernoulli random variable can have either 0 or 1 as outcome. P is the probability of success and 1 minus P is the probability of failure. So some books call this 1 minus P as Q also. Okay. Some books call this 1 minus P as Q. So this is called as Q also. So now I see here either two answers should be applicable over here. Either 0 or 1. Remember, important point. There should be only two answers. For example, coin. Suppose if I toss a coin, throw a coin in the air. Okay. So what are the possibilities? Only two answers. Either head or tail. Will you clear your CIB? Only two answers. Either you'll clear it or you won't. It's that simple. So only two answers should be possible. Okay. Suppose if I throw a dice, you know that dice we played in our school time. Nowadays also we played Ludo and all those games. So when you throw the dice, then what? Either you get, now there are 6 options. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll say, how come 2? So that is possible. Either get 6 or other than 6. 6 or other. If I have to get 6 on the top or other, so it's again 2. So that this way these problems are framed. So there can be only two answers. Remember, 0 or 1 as the outcome. P is the probability of success and Q is the probability of failure. Now success means what? Success means that probability which is asked in the question. If they ask you, if I throw a coin and what is the probability of getting a head, then that getting the head becomes the success and getting the tail becomes the failure. Okay. The mean of Bernoulli distribution is Ex equals to P and the variance is P into Q. Means P into Q basically. So Bernoulli is P into Q. Okay, variance. Got it? Simple. Now this dp. So P equals to 1 for n equals to 1 and n equals to 0, it is Q. 1 minus p. Okay. So remember this, either it is success or failure. Simple. Now next go to this binomial distribution. Now if I go on repeating Bernoulli 10 times, then that is called as binomial. In probability distribution theory and statistics, binomial distribution where parameters n and p is discrete probability distribution of number of successes in the sequence of n independent experiments, each asking for yes-no questions and each with its own Boolean valued outcome. My God, such a big definition, isn't it? Success P and failure Q 1 minus P. A single success or failure experiment is called as Bernoulli or a Bernoulli experiment, and a sequence of outcomes is called as Bernoulli process. For a single trial, that is n equal to 1, the binomial distribution is Bernoulli distribution. Now I'll explain you in simple words over here. What does it mean? If I go on, when I toss the coin only once, when I toss it only once, then it is Bernoulli. When I toss it more than once, greater than 1, then it becomes binomial. So basically logic is binomial. Logic over here is, if I go on repeating the Bernoulli distribution, I'll get binomial. I'll go on repeating it, okay, for n number of times. So that is the basic logic. Remember that much only. Each trial is independent in binomial because each trial is Bernoulli. Each trial is having its own head or tail, right? So that is binomial. Suppose if I ask you one question, I am tossing a coin 5 times. 5 times, huh? One time I am getting head. I got head over here. Then again I got head second time. Third time also I got head. So now fourth time, can you guarantee me? Everyone type in the comment section. 3 times I have got a head. Now fourth time, can you guarantee me that I'll get a head again? Just type head or tail, or you don't know. Yes or no. Just type yes or no. Can you guarantee me that you'll get a head again over here? You can't guarantee me. Why? Because each trial is independent. Suppose if I get 2 times head, I can't guarantee that third time I'll get a head. Fourth time I'll get a head. Fifth time I'll get a head. So that's why binomial means each time it's a Bernoulli experiment. And each trial is independent. Okay. Now before going ahead, everyone scan these QR codes. This blue one is for our LinkedIn channel. This black one is for our YouTube channel. And this other one, green one, or this blue, this is for our Instagram channel. You should join all these channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as YouTube, because we provided various free YouTube series, number 1. Secondly, we provide with free question banks, free tests on this channel. So that's why join immediately. Okay. Now, binomial, this is the formula for binomial. NCR into P raised to R, Q raised to N minus R, or X we call it. So NCX, P raised to X, Q raised to N minus X. N is number of trials. X is the successes required, successes required. Okay. P is the probability of getting success in each trial, single trial. And Q is the failure, probability of getting the failure. So this is binomial. Now, if you go on in Poisson, in probability distribution theory and statistics, the Poisson distribution is a discrete probability distribution that expresses the probability of given number of events occurring in fixed intervals of time or space if these events occur with a constant mean rate. Now one thing I'll clarify over here, Poisson distribution. Remember, in exam you will always face the problem like how to identify this problem is of Bernoulli, binomial, or Poisson. How to identify that? So to identify that, remember, in binomial, you will always get each trial should be independent. Very important. Each trial means you shouldn't be able to guarantee the next trial whether I'll get head or tail. And for Poisson, always remember there will be something constant over here. Fixed interval, something constant. Okay. Something fixed, something constant, like the like suppose example, you are getting some virus. Every 2 hours you are getting almost 3 deaths. or 3 patients, why deaths, okay? 3 patients every 2 hours I am getting. So this is a constant phenomena. So Poisson will always see this constant phenomena. For example, electricity in a city or in an area, every day 3 hours electricity is not there. So this is a constant phenomena. From when you get such problems, you understand that it's a Poisson problem. What is the formula for Poisson? See this. The formula for Poisson is this: lambda raised to x, you can call it, or e raised to minus lambda upon x factorial. Okay. What is x required? X equals to 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever is required. Lambda is a constant thing happening, which is happening constantly. 2 hours, every 2 hours, electricity is gone. Per day, 2 hours, electricity is not there. So that is a constant thing. And E is known as Euler's constant. It is 2.72 roughly. 2.718, it's a big number, but you can consider it 2.72, simple. Okay. So this is Poisson. So binomial formula, what is the formula for binomial? NCR, P raised to R, Q raised to N minus R, right? What is the formula for this? Poisson, lambda raised to X, or R you can call it. Here, some books call it R, some books call it S, one and the same thing. Lambda raised to R, E raised to minus lambda upon R factor. Okay, what is R or X? It is what is asked in the exam. Okay, so that was the theory part. Now we'll solve some numericals. Okay, so theory, everyone got it? Type yes in the comment section. You must, from this lecture, you must at least understand the formulae. And for binomial and this Poisson. Okay, so have you got this now? Shall we move ahead now? Type yes in the comment section. Everyone, yes. Type yes. Okay, move on. Chalo. A coin is thrown 3 times. What is the probability that at least one head is obtained? See, a coin is thrown 3 times. 3 times I am throwing the coin. So 3 times means what? Suppose if I throw the coin only once. Here, once I throw the coin. What is the possibility of getting the answer? Means either I'll get what? Head or tail, right? Simple. If I throw the coin only once, I'll get head or tail. So what are the total outcomes? 2. If I throw the coin 2 times, so again I might get head or tail or head, anything, isn't it? So again, what are the outcomes? 2. Right? Now third time, 3 times I am throwing. Third time. So now look at this. The outcomes over here are 2. So 2 times I am throwing it. But the answer doesn't, third time the answer is not 6. So if I throw the coin 3 times, the outcome is, remember, 2 raised to here. 2 is the outcome for each raised to 3. So the outcome will be 8 possibilities. Now look at these possibilities. See this. 8 possibilities, because I am joining them 3 times. 3 times I am throwing the coin. So there are 8 possibilities available. Suppose if I throw the coin 4 times, then it is 2 raised to 4, 16. Okay. So now find the answer. It is either HHH. See here, 3 times I am throwing the coin. So I can get all the heads also, or head tail, or head tail head, tail head, tail head, and all these. Here you see this, these are 8 possibilities available. Now what is asked in the question? What is the probability that at least one head is obtained? At least one head. So now am I having one head over here? Yeah, I am having more than one head. So this is okay. This is okay. Head, tail head, okay. Tail head, okay. Tail head, okay. One head, at least one head I must get. This also. This is not okay, because here I am getting tail. So this is not okay. So how many are the required successes over here? See here, at least one head. So what is the formula for probability? Probability is always the success. Probability equals to success, or P, success basically, upon sample space, total number of elements, total number of sample points, means whatever are the sample points available, or whatever the sample space. So what is the sample space over here? Sample space means total number of outcomes. So how many outcomes are there? 8. So here I am getting 8 outcomes. How many successes are required here? at least one head. So it is 7 successes. So my probability becomes 7. 7 upon 8. So that is my answer. 7 upon 8. Right? Now suppose if I ask you, find the probability. Everyone, type in the comment section now. Everyone got this problem by now? Got it? Everyone? Now if I ask you, what is the probability that you will get no head? No, I don't want any head now. So at least one head was 7 upon 8. So no head means what? No head. Suppose if you get this question in exam, no head. How will you solve this? It is 1 minus p. 1 minus p. So 1 minus 7 upon 8. So it is 1 upon 8. That is the answer for no head. Okay. If I ask you, I want at least two heads. Two heads. So in that case, what can be the possibility? At least I am talking. At least. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 are the answers. At least two heads, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I ask you two heads, then what will be the possibility? Two heads. So it is, denominator is 8, but here it is 4. So it is 1 by 2. This is the way we must solve these numericals. Okay, at least two heads. If I ask you, you should get at least 3 heads. At least 3 heads. Then what will be the answer? Now you type in the comment section. At least 3 heads. I want the answer for at least 3 heads. Everyone. Yes, at least 3 heads. What is the answer? At least 3. Yeah. So there's only 1 upon 8. Because everyone else is having 2 heads. At least 3 heads means only 1. Right? Everyone download Adda 24/7 app on your mobile. In this app, you will be getting the premium study material plus live classes, ebooks, tests. Whatever study material is required for us, including the classes, books, tests, you get it over here. So download it right now. Download this app. Share it with your friends. Okay. Find the probability of getting a numbered card when the card is drawn from a pack of 52 cards. Now I want a numbered card. Okay. Numbered card. Now, how many numbered cards are there? Firstly, tell me. And total is 52. Okay, first remember the probability. Formula for probability is what? Success. Okay, upon total, right? Sample space. So, total is simple. Total you have got it 52. Right? Total is 52 cards. What about the success? Success is what? Numbered card. Now, how many numbered cards are there? In a pack of 52 cards, how many numbered cards? Here. Numbered cards are, what are numbered cards? Which are having numbers. So 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Up to 10 you are having all the numbered cards. After 10, what do you have? You have the jack, you have the queen, you have the king, and you have the ace. So these are all called as what's here. Remember, there are 3 types of cards. One is numbered. Okay. Second one is, what is this? Anyone knows? Second one? Yes, face card is there, but this is not the answer. Honor card is the answer. Honor card means jack, queen, king, and ace. And last one is face card. Face cards are 3. Only jack, queen, and king. No ace is there. Does ace have a face card? Ace means that Ika, we call it, right? Does it have a face? No. So here what do I want numbered? Numbered means how many are there? 9. 2 to 10. So there are 9. But 9 in 1. So similarly you have 4 types of cards, right? So 9 to the 36. So answer becomes 36 upon 52. 36 upon 52. So you go on dividing it. It is what? 4. 4 9 is 4 13. So this is your answer, 9 by 13. Everyone got this here? This is very important concept to understand. Okay, you guys should understand this very properly. Got it? Everyone clear? So these were the numericals which I had told you. So here we were to do theory and numericals. Here all the numericals are not possible to be done in this half an hour class. We'll be covering the objective questions. if a standard asset will be shown as a loss if it had become irregular due to non-payment by the borrower since last 5 years. The loss of security in the account was more than 50%. The secured balance in the account is less than 10% after damage of the security. And all of the above are correct. So what is the correct answer in this? Think over it. Give me the correct answer in the comment section. Okay? Check in the comment section, everyone. Give me the answer in the comment section. The answer is C. The secured balance in the account is less than 10% after the damage of the security. Okay. So this is the main criteria. If the secured balance means basically the security against which the loan is given, if that remains less than 10% after the security has some damage due to anything, it might be due to rains, due to anything, fire, anything. If the security has remained less than 10%, then this is known as this asset will be shown as a loss asset. Okay. Next one. A housing loan is given, but the interest is payable along with the installment, which shall fall due after 2 years. The borrower has not been paying the interest debited for last 5 quarters. The account shall be treated as. So housing loan is given, but the interest is payable along with the installment, which shall fall due after 2 years. So it will fall due after 2 years means this is related to what? This is known as which period? Moratorium. Okay, so this is a moratorium period. So today I have given the loan today, but the EMI will start after 2 years. EMI, it will start after 2 years. Okay, so if EMI will start after 2 years, what will that customer pay within that part? Within that part, the customer will pay, actually he has to pay nothing, but as per the banking rules, we generally pay the interest part. That's called as pre-EMI interest. Okay. So now the question is, the borrower has not been paying the interest debited for last 5 quarters. So this interest was not paid by the borrower within this moratorium period. So what shall be the account treated as? Standard account, standard irregular account, substandard account, standard NPA account. Think over it, everyone. Everyone think over it. What shall be the answer over here? It will be treated as what? Standard, standard irregular, substandard, and standard NPA. What is this standard NPA? What is the standard NPA account? There is nothing called a standard NPA account. Okay. Substandard account. This is basically NPA. NPA starts with substandard, isn't it? Standard irregular account. This is also nothing like this. Standard irregular. So the answer is A. Standard account. Okay. So if a housing loan is given, but the interest is payable along with the installment. Okay. Next one. Which of the following statement is not correct in context of the crop loans? Means in the context of crop, basically we are talking of crop loans and we want not correct. Okay. For short duration crops, the irregularity period is 2 crop seasons. For long duration crops, the irregularity period is 1 crop season. Crop classification as short duration or long duration is determined by SLBC. The rule is applicable for all agricultural accounts. So we want not correct. Which one is not correct? Okay. So which of them won't be correct in this? Understand this. See this. Short duration crop and long duration crop. What is it? What is the short duration crop? Short duration crop means that crop which is completed within one season only. Long duration crop means that crop which requires two crop seasons. Okay. So that is, now which are those crops? We are not concerned with it actually. Banker gets the list of those crops. Okay. You get it from the head office, and head office gets it from RBI. Okay. So two crop seasons, short duration and long duration. Generally this turmeric is considered as long duration crop. So now the question is, we don't want long duration and short duration crops. We want which one is not correct. So the short duration crop irregularity period is two crop season. Means what? If a customer has taken a crop loan and not repaid it, okay, not repaid it, okay, in two crop seasons, then it is considered as irregular. Means basically NPA. Similarly, the second one, the customer has taken the loan for long duration crops and not repaid for one crop season, then it will be called as this NPA. So these two are correct. This is correct. This is correct. Crop classification as short duration or long duration is determined by SLBC. So that is also correct. Okay. The rule is applicable to all agricultural account. That is wrong. Now what do you mean by this? The rule is applicable to all. It means suppose if I take a tractor loan, then also it is applicable. Suppose if I take a housing loan under agriculture as a farmer, then also it's applicable. So it's not. Okay. So that is the point. The important point over here is this is applicable only to those crops. Means all the above three are correct, but it is not applicable to other agricultural accounts. Okay. So now the question in your mind might be, what is SLBC? SLBC, okay, State Level Bankers Committee. State Level Bankers Committee. So this Bankers Committee gives the list of this crop duration, short or long. Okay, and then it forwards it through RBI to all of the banks. Okay. So State Level Bankers Committee, this is the meaning of SLBC. Okay. Next one. Which of the following provision requirement is stated incorrectly in context of doubtful accounts? So incorrectly in doubtful. Doubtful means these are these NPAs? So NPA level number 2, right? Substandard, doubtful 1, doubtful 2, and then loss. So which of the following requirements are stated are incorrect? For unsecured portion of the balance, provision is 100%. For unsecured portion of the balance, provision is 100%. For secured portion of the balance in doubtful up to 1 year, provision is 25%. For secured portion of the balance in doubtful above 1 year up to 3 years, the provision is 40%. For secured portion of the balance in doubtful above 3 years, the provision is 50%. So which one is correct? Think over it. This was there, the question was there in your JIB also earlier. So now think over it. Which one is correct? This question was there in your JIB also. Think. I'll give you 1 minute to think. Let me see in the comment section what are the answers I am getting. I want the incorrect one. Incorrect. Okay. What are the provisions? Substandard. Okay. So it is 15-25, right? 15 for secured, 25 for unsecured. Doubtful D1. What is it? 2500, right? Doubtful 2, 4000. Oh, sorry, 4000, right? And last one, loss. So that is complete 100. Okay, both 100 means secured and unsecured both. So now which one is correct and which one is not correct? I have given you the hint also now. Now what is the answer in this, everyone? The answer is D, for secured portion of the balance in doubtful above 3 years. Okay, the account provision is 50%. This is wrong. See here, doubtful one above 3 years becomes loss asset. See, this is for 1 year. This is for 2 years. So total is 3 years. Doubtful. 3 years. So above 3 years, the provision is 100. So this one is incorrect. Okay. Next one. For the purpose of valuation of securities for provisioning purposes, the collateral securities are to be got valued at least dash by the valuer appointed by the board approved guidelines. So for purpose of valuation of securities for provisioning purpose, provisioning, what do you mean by provisioning? Provisioning means whenever we do the secured or unsecured provisioning for this provisioning for the this NPA loans. Okay. So securities for provisioning purposes, collateral securities are to be got valued at least dash by the value. Means how many times do we get it valued? Means suppose if I have taken a security today and the loan is for 10 years. So this valuation of that security should be done by me as a bank at least in how many years for that loan account or for that security? At least in how many years? What do you think? It should be done every. Okay, let me get the answer from you. Okay. So it should be done in, what is the answer? Done in at least once in 3 years. Okay, it should be at least done once in 3 years for the provisioning purpose of securities for the purpose of valuation of securities means valuation of those securities which I am using for the provisioning as a secured or unsecured. So these securities I must get it valued by the valuer appointed by the board at least once in 3 years. Got it, everyone? Once in 3 years. In case of substandard assets, the provisioning requirement is stated correctly in which of the following? Now we are talking of substandard. Substandard, what was the rule? Now you write in the comment section. For secured substandard assets, it is 15%. For unsecured substandard asset, it is 20%. For infrastructure unsecured substandard asset, it is 25%. And all of the above. Now what do we want? Correctly stated. Which is correctly stated? Correctly. Now give me the answer. Which of them is correctly stated? So the answer is, just now I had given you the classification, right? Some time back only in the same lecture. The answer is it is for substandard assets, it is 15%. Okay. So what is the provisioning? Look at this substandard. Again I'll write it 15, 25, right? 15 for secured, 25 for unsecured. Okay. For doubtful one, doubtful one it is, see this, it's written over here unsecured substandard, which is this unsecured substandard. So it is 25. That is wrong. So this is wrong. Infrastructure unsecured substandard assets, it is 25%. Unsecured. Okay. Substandard. Infrastructure unsecured. So that is reduced now by RBI. Okay. So that is not 25%. Got it? So the only correct answer over here is A. Okay. Because for infrastructure related, okay, what is the provision for infrastructure related unsecured substandard assets? You type. If this is wrong, then what is the right answer? What is the right answer for infra related substandard? Give me the answer. It is 20%. Remember, it is 20%. Got it? It is 20%. So that is the right answer. Got it, everyone? Clear? Next one. Which of the following statement regarding the provision on the standard assets is not correct? So regarding the provision on the standard assets is not correct. You want it now, not correct. Okay. And the question is on provision on standard assets. Provision standard assets. Okay. So not correct. The provision shall not be reckoned for the purpose of arriving at the net NPAs. The provision shall not be netted off from gross advances. Provision shall be shown as contingent provision against the standard assets in Schedule 5 other liabilities in the balance sheet and none of the above. So which one is correct over here? We want here not correct. Understand the question, which is not correct. And provision on standard assets. What are the provisions on standard assets? Provision on standard assets are, the standard assets have various types of provisions. For agri, right? What are the standard asset provisions? Anyone can give me? For agriculture, what is the provision for standard asset? Standard asset, it is 0.25%. Okay, for MSME standard asset, the provision is, everyone in the comment section, 0.25%, right? For housing, individual housing, remember it is individual housing, the provision is, everyone think over it, think over it. I want the answer in the comment section. These questions do come in the exam. Again 0.25%. Okay. For commercial real estate, CRE we call it. CRE, commercial real estate. What is the provisioning? Commercial real estate. The provisioning is 1%. Sorry, 0.75%. This one, yeah, it is 1%. And CRE RH, commercial real estate under residential housing, with residential housing, that is 0.75%. And for all other loans, all other loans, the provision is 0.4%, 40. Okay. So these are the provisions given. Remember these by heart. Again I'll repeat. Agri 0.25, MSME 0.25, housing 0.25, commercial real estate 1%, commercial real estate with residential housing 0.75%, all others it is 0.4%. So what do we want now? Which one is not correct? Okay. So provision shall not be reckoned for the purpose of arriving at NPAs. How can we arrive at NPAs using the standard assets? Obviously it can't be, right? So we want not correct. This is correct. So I'll write here true. This is true. Shall not be reckoned. I can't take the provision of standard assets as a provision for NPAs, right? Provision shall not be netted from the gross advances. That is also true. The provision is not netted from the gross advances. Okay, gross advance means total advances which I have given. Now, then where will it be netted? If it's not given through gross, then what? Then through what? See here, what is gross advance? Gross advance includes everything. Okay, so regular, standard, NPA, everything. So the gross advances we don't take it. Where will we take it then? We will be taking it in net advances. Okay, net. Got it? Provision shall be shown as a contingent provision. So that is true, because this is a contingent provision. This is not an NPA as of now, because I am just making a provision for the safety purpose, right? So contingent provision against the standard assets in Schedule 5, other liabilities in the balance sheet. So this is also true in Schedule 5. So this is also true. So the answer is none of the above. Which of them is not correct? So not correct is none of the above. All of them are correct. Got it? All of them are correct. Got it? Let's move on to the next one. Yeah. Which of the following statement is not correct regarding the floating provisions? Regarding the floating, remember this, floating provisions. The provisions can be netted off from gross NPAs to arrive at the disclosure of net NPAs. Okay. Think over it. Which of them is not correct regarding the floating provisions? I'll give you the answer later. First, you try yourself. Okay. So these provisions can be netted off from gross NPS to arrive at the disclosure of net NPS. So netted off from the gross NPS from gross. Okay. To arrive at disclosures of net NPS. These provisions can be treated as part 2 of Tier 2 capital fund with overall ceiling of 1.25% of the risk weighted assets. Okay. So 1.25% of the risk weighted assets. So these can be netted off as with the overall ceiling. Is this true? We want not correct. Remember the question, not correct. These provisions can be reversed to credit to P&L account at the discretion of the bank. So floating provisions, can they be reversed to credit to the P&L account at the discretion of the bank? So which of them is correct? And last one is none of them. What do you think? Think over the answer. Yeah. I'll wait for 1 minute. Yeah. Firstly, what is a floating provision? Many of you might be asking this, thinking this. What is a floating provision? Answer this. In the comment section, you answer me. What is a floating provision? Who can give me the meaning of floating provision? Floating provision is the amount of the banks that keep aside above the mandatory provisioning, compulsory provisioning. Okay, provisioning requirement against the bad loans established by the central bank. So whatever is a compulsory provisioning, above that, whatever I keep it separately, additional, that is known as the floating provision. So which one is not correct in this case now? Not correct is C. This cannot be credited reverse back to the P&L account at the discretion of the bank. It cannot be done. Okay. Got it? A doubtful loan of more than 2 years account has a balance of 9 lakh with a security of 5 lakh. The account has CGTMSE guarantee cover of 75%. What is the amount of the provision? Now this is a calculations part, and I feel first you do it, then I'll give you the answer. Okay? Yeah. So first you do it, then I'll give you the answer. Give me the answer. What is it given? Doubtful asset. Now the asset is doubtful of more than 2 years. Account has a balance of 9 lakhs. Okay, and security of 5 lakhs. So balance is of 9 lakhs, means the loan is pending for 9 lakhs. Security is for 4 lakhs. So what is the unsecured part in this then? So let's do it. Say this. Unsecured part over here will be, this is very important. That's why I'm doing the full calculations over here. So 9 minus, what is this? 5. Okay, now that is 4 lakhs. So 4 lakhs is the unsecured part. Okay, so this is unsecured. But what about the further thing? What is it given? What is it given about unsecured part? The remaining balance of 1 lakh. Now what is this? Say this. Now it has a CGTMSE guarantee of 75%. Now this guarantee is of 75%. What do you mean by this? Now this guarantee is 75% for which part? Now remember, the loans are of secured and unsecured. Okay, so loan, there will be 2 parts to this loan, right? So one is secured and second is unsecured. Okay, so now the problem is the secured part won't be having this guarantee. Okay, it won't be having. So 5 lakhs is over. So now 4 lakhs remaining part over here, that will have the guarantee of 75%. So there will be 2 parts now of this 4 lakh. 75% guarantee, okay, and 25% unsecured. Okay, even in this unsecured now, look at this. This 4 lakhs out of which 75% is guaranteed. It means what? It's a sort of guarantee only. It's a sort of security only, right? So what is the amount of provision? So now what happens? Out of this, let me mark it. 3 lakhs over here is covered under the guarantees, and 1 lakh over here is not covered under the guarantee. So this is totally unsecured, right? So this balance remaining of 1 lakh. Now the provision on the secured part, okay, secured balance of 5 lakhs is 40%, right? 5 lakhs means secured part. So what is this? The 2 years, no? 2 years, doubtful 2. So this will come in what? Which category? More than 2 years. So now it will come in D2 category. D2. What is the provision for D2? 40% for secured, right? And 100% for unsecured. 100% for unsecured, right? Unsecured. Got it? So now what is our case? 5 lakhs is for security, right? So complete 5 lakhs will have 40%. So now let's do this. 40% for secured, 5 lakhs. 5 lakhs. So 5 lakhs into 40%. So what is the answer over here? 2 lakhs. So this much is the, okay? So 40% this much is the provision, right? 2 lakhs is the provision for the secured part, right? Now on the remaining part, now CGTMSE guarantee is there for 3 lakhs. So therefore no provision is required. See, this guarantee, this secured means what? It is completely guaranteed. No provision is required. Complete. If this 3 lakh goes into loss, then we'll definitely get complete 3 lakhs. So no provision is required over here. No provision. No provision. Okay. So now what remains? 2 lakhs is gone over here, right? Now this 25% 1 lakh. So what is the provision for this 1 lakh? Complete 100%, isn't it? 100% over here, right? So what is my total provision then? The total provision will be 2 lakhs over here plus 1 lakh over for unsecured. So it is total 3 lakhs. So my answer is, this is my answer, B, 3 lakhs. Got it, everyone? Got the answer? How did we do it? Clear? Type yes in the comment section. Next question. There is an excess provision on account of sale of some NPA accounts with the bank. Means there is some NPA account with the bank and now it has been sold. The excess amount of the provision shall be. So what should I do with that amount which has been sold by me? Isn't it? Getting my point? Means I had some NPA and that NPA I have sold it now. Sold it, so I have received some money. So this excess amount of provision will be done, means here I have received the money, but excess amount of provision shall be. Now what is this excess amount of provision? Understand the question. The question is not of the money which I have received. Understand, everyone please pay attention. The question is not for the money which I have received. See, I'll write it over here. NPA, okay. Let's say this NPA is for let's say 10 lakhs, okay. Now for this NPA I have made a provision, okay. Let's say the provision made is 40% for 4 lakh, okay. I had made this provision of 4 lakh. Now what have I done? I have provision made means what? I have debited my P&L account, right, and credited, kept this as a separate provision. Now this NPA is sold. This is sold. Now sold means what? This is sold for whatever amount. I might sell this for 2 lakhs also, okay. So I have sold this to some SPV, any ARC, asset reconstruction company. So I have sold this now. Now what this provision which is made, which is debited to my P&L account and kept as a separate provision, what should I do with this? So the question is for this, not for this. The question is for this amount, not for this amount. Otherwise many of you might think, what should I do with this 2 lakhs? It's not with this 2 lakhs. This is for the provision. So the excess amount of provision shall be credited to the P&L account, taken towards part of the tier 2 capital, taken towards reduction in the provision on NPA accounts, deducted from the gross NPA to reach the net level. Now this is really difficult one. What should I do with the excess provision? Yeah. This excess 4 lakh, what should I do with it? Everyone, kindly check yourself. You should give this is available in the books also. So what should we do with this amount 2 lakh? What will you do with this 2 lakh which you have received? You'll simply put it to P&L. That's okay. So that I'll put it to P&L, because after all that's my income, isn't it? But what about this provision? This provision will be, let me see the comments of yours. What are you guys saying? Very typical answer. See here, I'll give you the first hint. Answer is not A. It won't be credited to P&L account. Okay, so that's out. Now B, C or D, taken towards reduction in provision on NPA accounts. Reduction in provision. You can do anything like this. Reduction in provision. See, every loan has a specific provision for itself. So you can't adjust one provision for the other. Okay, so it is always on one-to-one basis. Deducted from gross NPA to reach the net level. See here, deducted from gross NPA, how can you deduct this? So that is also out. This is also out. How can you deduct the provision from the gross NPA? This 2 lakhs, I can say that you can deduct it from this gross NPA. That is okay for this 2 lakhs because this amount is of the NPA. But here we are talking of provision. So the answer over here is B. Taken towards the part of the tier 2 capital. Taken towards the part of the tier 2 capital. Okay, so this is taken as a part of the tier 2 capital. Remember, tier 2, not tier 1. Tier 2 is a paid capital. Okay, got it? Next one. Provision coverage ratio is to be calculated as. Now, what is PCR? Provision coverage ratio. Firstly, what is provision coverage ratio and what is the significance of that? What is the significance of this provision coverage, or what is the significance of the provision? Yeah. See this. How do you define gross NPA and net NPA? Suppose if I tell you to classify between gross and net NPA. Gross NPA minus provision, remember this formula, minus provision equals to net NPA. This is a basic formula which you should remember. Gross NPA minus provision equals to net NPA. Okay, now you understand the question. Provision coverage ratio, PCR, is calculated as total provision including standard accounts upon net NPA of the bank. So total provision including standard accounts. You pay attention to this point, including standard. Total provisions including standard account upon gross NPA of the bank, again including standard accounts. Provisions upon net NPA of the bank. Provisions upon gross NPA of the bank. Now this provision means what? See here specifically it's mentioned including gross standard accounts. Now you tell me the provision for the standard accounts. Whenever we make the provision for the standard accounts, I have taken this earlier in one of the lectures. So provision for standard accounts, well, where do we put it? Do we put it in our as same as that of the NPA accounts? No. So that's why remember PCR is to be calculated. So A is out, including standard accounts, out, totally out. You cannot include standard accounts provision for the total provision, means for along with the NPA provisions. Okay, so A and B are out. Provision upon net NPA and provision upon gross NPA. Now that is important part. Provisions are calculated on what? PCR is calculated on what basis? That's why I said, see this, if I calculate the provision based on the net NPA, right, then this formula won't exist. Simple. This formula won't exist at all. So provision is always first calculated on the net gross NPA basis. Okay. So provision is always provision upon gross NPA. So that's how the PCR is calculated. So the formula for PCR is PCR equals to provision upon gross. I'll just write gross now. Gross NPA. Okay. NPA. Got it, everyone? So provision of PCR equals to provision upon gross NPA. Clear the question? Concept is clear? Move ahead. Okay. Next one. If recovery is received in NPA accounts, it is to be appropriated under. Means recovery is received in NPA accounts. So what have I done? Same question will take it. There was an NPA account earlier, 10 lakhs. NPA 10 lakhs. Now we are talking of NPA. We are not talking of provision over here. See here, NPA and provision, there are two different angles. Provision was 4 lakhs. So here we are not talking of provision. We are talking of only NPA. Now if recovery out of this 10 lakhs, let's say 2 lakhs is received. So where will I put this? This was already NPA. So where will I put this? First to the principal amount, first to the interest amount, as per formal arrangement with the borrower, and if there is no arrangement, at the bank's discretion, which should be rule for all the accounts at the discretion of the bank. So what should be the answer over here? What do you think should be the answer? If recovery is received in an NPA account, it is to be appropriated under what? Many of you have typed the answer as C because you have seen big answer, type it C, right? We have general tendency that whenever we see the big answer, we try to answer that only, right? So it's not the case every time. So remember, this time it is okay. C is the right answer. As per the formal arrangement. What do you mean by as per the formal arrangement? Means if this customer is having two separate accounts, okay, one is CC, second is term loan, okay, and both are NPA, okay, term loan is for 5 lakhs. So now this customer has given 2 lakh rupees. Now this customer will tell you that this both are NPA. Here remember, both are NPA. So customer will have the arrangement with you, or he will give it in writing where is to put which money. So 2 lakhs is to be put as per the arrangement which is decided by the borrower, and if there is no arrangement, at the bank's discretion, which should be rule for all the accounts, means whatever we follow for other accounts, the same rule will follow for this account also. But if there is an arrangement, then we have to follow that arrangement with that customer. Got it? So answer will be C, as per the formal arrangement with the borrower, and if there is no arrangement, at the bank's discretion, which should be the rule for all the accounts. Got it? Prudential guidelines on income recognition, asset classification, provisions were introduced by RBI on the recommendation of which of the following committee? Rangarajan, Chakraborty, Deepak Mohanty, and Narasimham committee. Very easy question. Prudential guidelines were introduced on the recommendation of which committee? Very easy answer. This is the most famous committee in banking, right? That had come in 1991, right? So that was anyone? Narasimham committee. Okay, Narasimham. This committee had given, this committee had came in 1991. This was one of the most important committees in banking. It opened the doors of banking for private sector. Okay, got it everyone? Next one. Cash credit account becomes NPA substandard. In which of the following cases? When does a CC account become NPA? If the balance remains above the sanction limit or drawing power for more than 90 days. Above the sanction limit, okay, above, or the DP, whichever it is, okay. If the balance is less than the limit of the drawing power, but there is no credit for 90 days on the date of balance sheet, so no credit. So the limit is within the DP only, but no credit. If the balance is less than the limit of the DP, but the credit is less than the interest debited. So whatever interest, suppose if my bank has debited the interest of 1 lakh and that customer is paying only 50,000 in last 90 days. So it means there is a problem. If the balance is less than the limit or the DP, but due stock statement is not submitted for 3 months. So in which account does which system does it become the NPA? Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. What do you think? Now, if the answer would have been E option, all of the above, I think so 90% of you would have typed the answer E, A, B, C, D, all of them. But remember, even that answer is wrong. an account becomes NPA in which of the following cases? Think over it. The answer is only A. Answer is A. If the balance remains above the sanction limit or the DP for more than 90 days. That is the only answer. A. Okay. Now, why is this answer A? Many of you might be thinking, sir, even B is correct. No credit for 90 days. Interest within the limit, but no credit. Within the limit, but that what stock statement, isn't it? Many of you might be thinking B, C, D are also correct. But see, the correct option over here is, why it is A? If the account remains overdue, that's okay. Or if the overdue limit is not reviewed within 6 months. So this is a basic rule. Now RBI has told that whenever you have some minor issues, don't consider these accounts as NPAs. If there are some minor issues which can be tackled, so don't consider them for NPAs. Means simply speaking, D, due to stock report not submitted. So this should not be considered as NPA. You are having this topic in your CIB. Okay. So in this case, what should you do is, you should speak to that customer and get the stock statement. It's your job to get the stock statement. Okay. If there is no credit, account is within the limit but no credit, then it's your job to speak to that customer and get some credit. Okay. Or if it is lesser than, then it's your job to, because it's a if the account is within the DP, within the limit, what are we bankers doing over here then? Right? So that's why the answer is only A over here. Okay. I mean, this is a serious issue. A is a serious issue. You can't help this A, but B, C, D you can definitely help. Right? In case of crop loan or loan for purchase of or tractor or other equipment, the account becomes substandard if the account remains. Now look at this. This question is a bit tricky one. Crop loan you will understand, but
here already in the paid batch we are doing the module B, right? So here also I am having some question from module B itself. So in paid batch we are doing the chapter of, that is, performance management, but today I have taken some 10 to 15 questions from the module B, that is from the chapter of development of HR and human implication of the organization, right? See, this is your first question from the Zuari window. If when we are talking about the exam point of view, then definitely Zuari window is a very important topic, right? See, this is the Zuari window and it is given by the Joseph Lungcham, okay? Right? So Zuari window, right, is a very important topic when we are talking about the exam point of view, okay? And Zuari window that is given that is given by the Joseph Luke and Harrington Ingham. So in December exam there was a question from the that who has given the Zuari window model. The name is famous two psychologists, they have given the Zuari window, that is Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham. And when we have shorted their name, the Zuari is named from their name only. Okay, Luft and Ingham named their model, that is Zuari, given the combination of their first names. Okay, so that is Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham. Okay, Joseph Luft and Harrington Ingham, right? So taken their first name, that is Zohari, right? So that is the Zuari window. In this Zuari window, see, basically Zuari window, right, that is a technique designed to help people better understand their relationship with themselves and other. That means how much open they are with themselves and even with the other person. So Zuari window is actually the method where we help people to better understand their relationship with themselves and other, right? So in Zuari window we have the 4 quadrant. Total 4 quadrant we have. That is, number 1 is arena. That means that is the open quadrant, open, right? This one is the blind, right? This one is the hidden, close, that is. But this one is the dark. So this is A, B, C and D. So when we are talking talking about the arena, this is actually the open quadrant. That means in this quadrant, that is open quadrant, right, the information which is lying under the arena, that means that information is known to self and known to other. Okay. Then we have the blind spot. Blind spot, in this spot the information lying is which is known to other but not known to you yourself, right? So that is a blind. That means we don't know about ourselves but others know about us, right? Then the third is not known to other. That is basically the mask type of situation. Mask means you are hiding everything from the other person. So you know everything about yourself but you are hiding. Okay? You are wearing the mask actually. So the information which you are hiding from the other person. So not known to other. Okay? This is the area of not known to other. Okay? And this is the area is which is known to other. Okay, and the number one is the area here is that is known to self. Okay, and the second area is that is not known to self. Not, okay, so that is not known to self. So we have the four quadrant here, that is arena, blind, hidden and dark. So that is third area, that is hidden area, closed area, where the information is not known to other, right, and known to self. Then the last area is that is the dark area. Here actually the information which is not known to self, right, and not known to other. That means it is the information which even other don't know about yourself, right, and even you don't know about yourself. So that is a dark area, completely unknown area, dark area. We called it as a even unknown area also. Okay, this is the unknown area. So the question here is, in the Zohari window model, the information about yourself that other know in a group but you will unaware about it. Okay, that means other know other know but you are not know. Okay, you will be unaware about it. So that means that is the area of light. Okay, that means other know about yourself but you yourself don't know about that. So that is a blind area. Now the second question here is red. So in the last year in June exam there was a question from the red, right, that is role analysis technique. Now what is this analysis technique is all about? See, the role analysis technique, right, this is actually the intervention normally to design to clarify the role expectation and obligation to the team member to improve the team effectiveness, right? So that is basically the structured exercise to provide an overall picture of what role is supposed to achieve, the rationale for its existence in the organization, right? So normally this technique, that is RAD, role analysis technique, that is actually the intervention which is designed to clarify role expectation and obligation to the team member to improve the team effectiveness. So this will be work where actually all the team member they know what is their role is. So definitely the role ambiguity, the confusion will be ended because of this technique. So role analysis is the structured exercise to provide an overall picture of what role is supposed to achieve, the rationale for its existence in the organization. So that is actually the role is basically the technique, right? It is an intervention to clarify about the role expectation and obligation. Okay, so it clarify about the role expectation and role clarification. So role analysis technique actually give you the idea about the role expectation and role clarification. So the answer here is that is role analysis technique. Now third question is identify the true statement from the following. Right? You have to identify which one is the true statement. Number one is the child ego state mainly collect information and process it. Okay, this is your first option. The second is the adult ego state is mainly responsible for creativity, curiosity and reaction to other. The third is parent ego state mainly regulate the behavior and nurture it. Okay, so which one is the correct statement? See, child ego state mainly collect the information and process it, which is completely wrong. Okay, third is the parent ego state mainly regulate behavior and nurture it. B is adult ego state mainly responsible for creativity and reaction to other. That is completely wrong. We are talking about child ego state here. Okay, and here we are talking about the adult. But the third one, see, in the transactional analysis which is given by the Eric Berne, okay, we have done in the paid class also. He has given the three state, that is child, adult and parent, right? So child ego state mainly tells you about your, right, creativity, curiosity and immediate reaction to the other. Adult ego state is mainly tells you about, right, to behave reasonably, right? But parent ego state that regulate your behavior and nurture it. So here the right answer is C, that is. Which one of the following is not a component of EI? See, EI is having the 5 components. Now what is the EI is? EI is basically to understand your emotion and to understand other person's emotion as well. Okay, so that is your capability, that is your ability to understand your emotion and to understand other person emotion as well. So we have the 5 component here. The number one is self-awareness. Number 2 is self-regulation. Number 3 is empathy. Number 4 is self-motivation. Number 5 is social skills, right? So we have total 5 components here. Self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, self-motivation and social skills. So basically when we are talking about these 5 components, right, that means here actually which one of the following is not a component of EI, that is. Okay. So when we are talking about EI, that is actually that is the ability to regulate your behavior and to regulate other person's emotion as well. Okay. So we have the 5 component here. Number 1 is self-awareness. That is to know, to have the awareness about your emotion. Then we have the self-motivation. That is all about to motivate yourself. Then we have the empathy. Empathy means to have the make up the mood of other, right? You have the capability to change the mood of other. Then we have the self-regulation. That means to regulate your own behavior, right? Then we have the social network. That means you are having the capability to build rapport with others. Okay, so here actually technical skills is not the component of EI. So last year in December exam there was a question of that which one is a component, or I think which one is not a component, like that they have asked. So these 5 are the components: self-awareness, regulation, empathy, motivation and social network. Next question is what is the id? See, in the personality theory which is given by the motivation in the personality theory, that is 3 ego state is given, right? That is id, ego and super ego, right? Now what is the meaning of id? See, id is your impulsive behavior, okay? Freud has suggested that Freud is very famous psychologist, right? And he has suggested that in id-ego state, right? Sorry, in id state, your impulsive behavior work, right? That means you're thinking very impulsive, right? Like without even thinking of once. Ego is your reality. It is like your child behavior, basically. Okay? Then ego is your adult-like behavior. That means you're dealing with the reasonably, with the logic, with the according with the situation. Then we have the superego. Now superego is all about, that is your superego is moral, okay, right and wrong. So what is the id? That is a part of the psyche that control impulse. P is part of the psyche that reduce anxiety. C is a description of the innate institutional, right, need, and G is a part of psyche that control our moods. So what is the meaning of it? That is actually control your that is actually reduce the anxiety, description of your innate, then part of that is actually the impulses. Right? We have the next question, that is rebel hypothesis. See, rebel hypothesis is given by the F.W. Taylor. Okay, this is given by F.W. Taylor. Now, what was the opinion of F.W. Taylor? F.W. Taylor has thought that if any employee, right, if any employee who is working in the organization, they are completely working for the money, for the incentive, right? So rational economic view or rebel hypothesis is given by the F.W. Taylor. Last year in the June exam, this question was asked, right? That if so, what was the opinion of F.W. Taylor? His opinion was, if you are giving the money to the worker, if you are giving them the good salary to the worker, that means they will work for you. Okay, they will work for you. So the option is that is, workers are motivated more by the need for satisfaction. Workers are motivated more by the sense of security. Workers are motivated more by the need for money. Workers are motivated more by the working environment. So here actually the answer is C, that workers are motivated more by the need for money, that is. Which one of the following statement is correct about the self-awareness? Again, this question is from the Zohari window, that is arena, blind, closed and dark. Okay, so we are talking about the self-awareness. Which one is the right? Arena and closed are known to self. Okay, see this area is what? We have already done this. This area is known to other and not known to other. Okay, that is known to other, right, and not known to other, that is. Okay, this area is known to self and not known to self. Okay, so here we are talking about arena and closed that are known to self. Arena and closed, yes, that are known to self. Arena and closed that are known to other, which is wrong. Closed and dark are known to other. Closed and dark known to other, that is also wrong. Arena and dark are known to self, which is also wrong. So number 1 is the right one. See, if you want to remember this, normally last year, in a year of 2022, there was a 5 marks question from only Zohari. So it is a very, very important topic, right? You can see here A, B, C, D, right? So this is a very, very important topic. And when we are talking about the Zohari window, right? Please remember this picture. Upper one is not, that is known to other, not known to other, known to self and not known to self. A, B, C, simple. Okay. So just, right, remember this picture. If you remember this picture, then definitely it will be easier for you. Then we have question 9. This is from the reinforcement theory of motivation. Okay. See, this concept, that is operant conditioning, is given by the B.F. Skinner. Now, what was the opinion of B.F. Skinner? His opinion was that is, okay, that is actually if you are working something, right? If you are doing a very good work, okay, that means if you are going to reward for that work, then of course you will repeat that behavior. That is, we called it as a positive reinforcement. But for the behavior you will be getting the punishment, then definitely you won't be repeat that kind of behavior. So we called it as a negative behavior. Okay, negative reinforcement, right? So here the option is number 1, a reservoir of feeling, thought, urges and memories that are outside of our conscious awareness. B is a behavior training technique in which reinforcement or punishment are used to influence behavior. Third is the largely unconscious part of the personality, okay, that mediate the demand of id, ego, superego and reality, right? So here actually we are talking about here, that is B. We are talking about the positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. So that is our behavior training technique in which reinforcement or punishment are used to influence the behavior. Okay. Question number 10 is the motivation is determined by the nature of the reward people expect to get as a result of their job performance. Which of the following theory postulates it? Okay. That is balance, instrumentality and expectancy model, instrumentality theory, path goal theory, or all of the above. So of course all of the above is the right answer. All the three names are from the Bloom theory. So when we are talking about the Bloom theory, that means we are talking about if we know what type of reward that person is going to get, okay, what kind of reward we are going to get, then definitely we will be more motivated. So it will lead to effort, performance and okay. So now all the viewers, if you are watching live, then please subscribe our channel first of all and type Adda 24/7, that is